Yeah, my name's Gabe Zollner. A friend of mine sent this, and I thought I'd turn it into a little video. And there's a photograph of Barack with his jacket over his back on the cover of Newsweek. I assume this is real. It starts off saying, finally someone in the liberal media has their eyes open and a brain that works. Finally, Matt Patterson and Newsweek speak out about Obama. This is timely and tough. As many of you know, Newsweek has a reputation for being extremely liberal. The fact that their editor saw fit to print the following article about Obama and the one that appears in the latest Newsweek makes this a truly amazing event and a news story in and of itself. At last, the truth about our president and his agenda are starting to trickle through the, quote, protective wall, end of quote, built around him by the liberal media. It's titled, I Too Have Become Disillusioned, by Matt Patterson, columnist, opinion writer. Years from now, historians may regard the 2008 election of Barack Obama as an inscrutable and disturbing phenomena, the result of a baffling breed of mass hysteria akin perhaps to the witch craze of the Middle Ages. How they will wonder did a man so devoid of professional accomplishments beguile so many into thinking he could manage the world's largest economy, direct the world's most powerful military, execute the world's most consequential job. Imagine a future historian examining Obama's pre-presidential life, ushered into and through the Ivy League despite unremarkable grades, test scores along the way, a cushy non-job as a community organizer, a brief career as a state legislator devoid of legislative achievements, and in fact nearly devoid of his attention, so often did he vote present. And finally, an unaccomplished single term in the United States Senate, the entirety of which was devoted to his presidential ambitions. He left no academic legacy in academia, authored no signature legislation as a legislator. And then there is the matter of his troubling association, the white-hating, American-loathing preacher who was decades served as Obama's spiritual mentor, a real-life actual terrorist who served as Obama's colleague and political sponsor. It is easy to imagine a future historian looking at it all and asking, how on earth was such a man elected president? Not content to wait for history, the incomparable Norman Podhoretz addressed the question recently in the Wall Street Journal. To be sure, no white candidate who had close association with an outspoken hater of America like Jeremiah Wright and an unpretending terrorist like Bill Ayers would have lasted a single day. But because Mr. Obama was black and therefore entitled to the eyes of liberal dom, to have hung out with protesters against various American injustices. Even if they were a bit extreme, he was given a pass. Let that sink in. Obama was given a pass, held to a lower standard because of the color of his skin. Podhoretz continues, and in any case, what did such ancient history matter when he was also so articulate and elegant, as he himself has said? Non-threatening, all of which gave him a fighting chance to become the first black president and thereby lay the curse of racism to rest. Podhoretz puts his finger, I think, on the animation pulse of the Obama phenomena, affirmative action. Not in the legal sense, of course, but certainly in the motivating sentiment behind all affirmative action laws and regulations, which are designed primarily to make white people, and especially white liberals, feel good about themselves. Unfortunately, minorities often suffer so that whites can pat themselves on the back. Liberals routinely admit minorities to schools for which they are not qualified, yet take no responsibility for their inevitable poor performance and high dropout rates which follow. Liberals don't care if these minority students fail. Liberals aren't around to witness the emotional devastation and the deflated self-esteem resulting from the racist policy that is affirmative action. Yet racists holding someone to a separate standard merely because of the color of their skin, that's affirmative action in a nutshell. And if that isn't racism, then what is? And then it was what America did to Obama. True, Obama himself was never troubled by his lack of achievement. But why would he be? As many have noted, Obama was told he was good enough for Columbia despite undistinguished grades. And Occidental, he was told he was good enough for the U.S. Senate despite a mediocre record in Illinois. He was told he was good enough to be president despite no record at all in the Senate. All of his life, every step of the way, Obama was told he was good enough for the next step, in spite of ample evidence to the contrary. What could this breed if not the sort of empty narcissism on display every time Obama speaks? In 2008, many who agreed that he lacked executive qualifications nonetheless raved about Obama's oratory skills, intellect, and cool character. Those people, conservatives included, ought not to be deeply embarrassed. The man thinks and speaks in the harshest of cliches, and that's when he has his teleprompter in front of him. When the teleprompter is absent, he can barely think or speak at all. Not one original idea has ever issued from his mouth. It's all warmed over Marxism of the kind that has failed over and over again for 100 years. An example is his 2012 campaign speeches, which are almost word for word his 2008 speeches. And what about his character? Obama is constantly blaming anything and everyone else for his troubles. Bush did it. It was held back. I inherited this mess. Remember, he wanted the job, campaigned for the task. It is embarrassing to see a president so willing to advertise his own powerlessness, so comfortable with his own incompetence. The other day, he actually came out and said no one could have done anything to get our economy and our country back on track. But really, what were we to expect? This man has never been responsible for anything, so how do we expect him to act responsibly? In short, our president is small-minded, with neither the temperament nor the intellect to handle his job. When you understand that, and only when you understand that, will the current erosion of liberty and prosperity make sense. It could not have gone otherwise with such a man in the Oval Office. Great article. Yeah, and that apparently is in the Newsweek. Look for it. If you like what he wrote, what Matt Patterson wrote, pass it along.